Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard.
Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today, friends, we have another exciting guest on this podcast. She has done a lot in her alternative party career, and she's going to talk to us about her past, future, and present. Her name is Brittany Kosin, and she's going to tell us more about what she represents, who she belongs with, and what she's done. So welcome to the podcast, Brittany.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Brittany, if we could get started by you please giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
I am 32 years old, and I've been just newly involved in the political scene with the Libertarians. I started everything pretty much back in 22 when I ran for my local state rep. Before that, I pretty much kept to myself as a volunteer firefighter, EMT, and emergency room registered nurse, as well as a mom to 3 children, and a lovely wife. So, other than that, really not involved in politics all that much. But then just kind of really didn't like how things were going and saw an opportunity to run and kind of started to get my feet wet in the politics and went from there.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like you have a lot of things going on. You have a lot of pots on the stove.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, we applaud that. So the state representative position, first, given your background as a firefighter, and you said also a nurse too, right?
Yes.
How has your career experiences influenced your politics?
A lot of it has helped me. I just really wanted to give those populations a voice in the political world more than they have currently. A big thing that got me into it was with being a nurse through COVID and everything was the safe staffing ratios and just basically how we were being treated, everything. So that kind of just really is what pushed it. But it just really helps with talking to people and understanding people and and just being there for them and being their voice is pretty much, as a nurse, you advocate for your patients, and as a firefighter, you're there to help save them in a time that they're not probably at their best. So it really helps with handling things along those lines with it, and just kind of being less career politician and more kind of the people.
Sounds good. So your 2022 state rep race, kindly tell our audience what that was like, what your experiences were like.
So it started out, I originally was attempting to run as a Republican, and it was the previous representative in our area was retiring.
Okay.
And so it was going to be an open seat. So I was like, well, I'm a registered Republican at the time, and why not? Let's go. So I announced my intentions, and then shortly after that, the county Republican Party had their candidate that they really wanted. So they put someone up against me for that, and pretty much it was a headache from the start with that. Yeah, if you're not in our area, if you're not tapped on the shoulder for it and given their blessing, they'll do everything to get you out of their competition basically. And so they ended up going, and I did withdraw as a Republican before the primary. Later, I did switch to Libertarian
Okay.
because I still wanted to run, but they were trying their darndest to keep me off the ballot. I went through, got all of my signatures as best as I could, and they still went and took me all the way to the state Supreme Court for sore loser, saying that I had run as a Republican and then switched parties, which I never showed up on the primary ballot. So there's no way that I could have lost if I never showed up on the ballot.
Sure.
But they still took, the judges still took that as an attempt and did have me removed from the November ballot. So that ended my, state rep, escapades and run there, and, just kind of, all of that just kind of lit a little bit more of a fire under me to at least get involved in maybe smaller areas, but still get involved and work my way back up eventually to something a little bit bigger.
Sure.
So that's when I went.
I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead.
That's when I went for my township supervisor the next year.
Oh, okay.
2023 last year. Yep.
So how did that go?
That went well, but I still did not win because again they had their favorite that was kind of picked for that position prior. But I did outperform my expectations.
Oh, good.
I ended up getting probably about a third of the votes, so just a little short, but it did kind of show that there is a change coming and people are not just voting party lines. I was a registered Libertarian and was running a third party in my township. So it did really kind of open their eyes that the constituents are wanting some change there.
Sure. I've heard that the scholars and the pundits are looking at this 2024 year and they think it might have a fertile opportunity for alternative parties. Do you think that's the case?
I'm definitely seeing a lot more people being open to third-party candidates.
Oh, good.
And hearing them out and definitely just being a little bit more open-minded. And I think they're just seeing that the major parties aren't always the way to go.
Yes. That's good that people are opening their minds to the possibilities of alternative parties.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
So in the 2023 election, you're talking about how you ran that race and you had the 2022 election right before it. That's pretty good going from one year right to the next. So what did you learn during the 2023 race?
The big thing I learned is that it really takes a village. You really need volunteers and people to help get to those doors, because the more you get out to the voters in person, the more chance you have to flip their vote to your side, because they're able to see you and talk to you and get their questions answered, or at least put out there and their answers eventually given, if you can't give something right then and there. I did have a little bit of difficulty just because, again, being third party and new to a lot of stuff, it was just my husband and I really pretty much door knocking most of the time against a group that was sending out 10 to 15 people every weekend. So 2 against 15, and when we have kids and stuff, it's tough to get to those doors. But in my township to really do any real impact of getting to those voters, you need to get to like 10 to 15,000 doors.
Oh my.
Yeah, you need to get to a lot of doors. We have some denser populations in the township of like townhouses and stuff like that. So it goes quickly, but it's tough, and it definitely, I did learn to keep a little bit tougher skin with some people, just because there are people that still aren't open and everything, and they'll be a little abrasive when they either answer the door or just don't get disheartened if you go through 3 doors and no one answers, or 4 doors and no one answers, and
Sure.
you're going through and you're like, I've knocked on 20 doors and I've only talked to 3 people. Those 3 people could be 3 votes. So just kind of keeping a positive attitude and a really good pair of walking shoes.
Sure. Now, 2023, the pandemic officially ended in May of 2023. So do you think that made some people reluctant to answer the door, or do you think people were over COVID by then and that didn't affect it?
I know in my area, it really wasn't that much of an issue with people opening the door. I was respectful of a lot of people, because a decent amount would come to the door and just kind of talk to you through either the side glass or crack it a little bit. And I was cognizant of it and just respected people with wherever they were at in their opinions on the pandemic. I had some that were like, I never believed any of this from day one, and I had others that were coming to the door with full mask and gloves and very like skeptical of taking anything from someone that they don't know and that isn't wearing a mask or gloves or anything like that. But I had everyone in between. So it's just kind of being respectful and meeting them where they are and where they felt comfortable.
That sounds like a good approach. That sounds good. So 2024 is here now. We started, as of this recording, we're started a few days into 2024. Are you planning on running for office in 2024, or are you taking that time off?
I am taking this year off. I am helping still in the political realm with presidential candidate and stuff.
Okay.
But I am not running myself. I'm taking this year off for campaigning on my end.
Okay.
I am going to be running in 25 though, so.
Oh, okay. So you have plans in the near future.
Yeah, I pretty much have been campaigning for 2 years straight, so I kind of needed a little bit of a break to spend time with the kids and enjoy the summer and everything.
Sure. Do you have a particular office in mind in 2025? That's an off year, so I don't think there's too much probably in your area, right?
No, so I'm running again for my township supervisor because the way ours runs, they are 6-year terms. We have 3 of them, and they pretty much every other year one of them is up for election. Just because by the time you come back, yep, it's every 2 years there'll be one that's up for election. Just because by the time they come back around, it'll be 6 years.
Okay.
So I will be running for township supervisor again. In 25. That's also a school board race in our area. So, and our school board is pretty hot topic. Because we're Central Bucks School District, and so we've been in the news not for the greatest of things. I wish we were on better terms, but we're pretty it's a little bit of a charged race, and they did last I had known that they did do a little bit of tweaking to the regions for that. Same as with when in 22 we had the redistricting of our regions because of the census. So it's going to be another little bit of an interesting year for that. But the turnout will probably be much higher than a normal off major election.
Sure. So we talked about what you've learned from the election in 2023, and you also made what you learned from the 2022 one. So are you planning on doing anything differently this time, incorporating those lessons, or do you think you got a general good approach that is honed the way it is?
I do. I have a good idea of what I intend to do.
Okay.
Again, big thing is the door knocking and just really that outreach and getting out to people with stuff. And more just bringing in volunteers and interns into the campaign just to help and just have more bodies assisting. I learned that it is really hard when it's just myself and my husband trying to do everything.
I would imagine, yes.
It's definitely a challenge that I've always had of just kind of delegating and asking for assistance. I'm a pretty stubborn and independent person, so it's something that's taken years and years of wearing down to be able to go and say, okay, I need help with this, and letting people help. But yeah, we are going to be pulling in some interns. So I'm big on just helping people learn and everything, and at the same time that mutual benefit, they get to learn within a campaign. Nothing huge and crazy, but they get the learning experience, and I get the assistance and what knowledge they have from school that they've been learning and everything. So it's a mutual benefit there.
Okay. So what type of what skills in particular are you looking for? What do you think the skills that would be the most impactful to recruit for your upcoming campaign or campaigns?
I definitely I really look for people that are personable and hard workers and just willing to go and those go-getters and stuff. But again, you don't want to be too much, because that can deter people from wanting to listen to you if you're a little too out there and I guess I would use the word, like, not necessarily aggressive, but like it's a positive side of aggressive. There's
Sure.
those that are a little too gung ho, but yeah, the ones that are the go getters and stuff are the ones that are the greatest to help.
Sure. So it sounds like you're looking mostly for character and work ethic over specific skill sets.
Yeah, and that's because it's with that it's like the character. Skills can be learned and directed and everything, and people can pick up on a skill.
Sure.
It's harder for the charisma and the personableness and just the conversation level. It's harder to learn things like that. Those are more like innate traits in a person.
Sure. So, Brittany, how can our audience support you and your party?
My biggest thing is just really big on social media, is just sharing, even if it's just getting it out there and even if it's not in my area, it's not that big deal, but getting people to share the message, because someone in someone else's area might agree with it and be like, hey, I might want to run for my local office, and it's just getting more people to run for the local lower-level offices.
Sure. That sounds like a good strategy. Brittany, thank you for coming on the podcast today and talking about your campaign. I trust our audience who have listened to this has found that informative and inspiring that they can use in their activist and political efforts.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'm glad I lasted as long as I did with my laryngitis here.
You hear that, friends? She has laryngitis and she's on the podcast. What a trooper. We appreciate that. We appreciate your attitude of the show must go on. That's what we're all about here. That's the spirit
Pretty
of what
much.
we do. All right. May your show always go on, and may you keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you. Best of luck for you, too.
All right. Take care and all the best.
You too. Bye-bye.